Geography 11, Natural Resources and Culture. Natural resources are understood through the lens of culture. Different cultures view natural resources in different ways. Natural resources change over time. What is considered a resource varies with the needs of the culture. Some natural resources are renewable, that is, they replenish themselves within a human lifetime. Other natural resources are non-renewable. They do not replenish within a human lifetime. Natural resources defined. What are natural resources? Natural resources are things found in nature that humans value. Our culture, especially in terms of technology, affects what we value and therefore what we consider to be natural resources. Changes in human needs result in some resources becoming more valued and others less valued. Changes in distribution. The distribution of natural resources changes over time. People may take most or all of a resource from an area. Exploration may reveal resources not previously known in an area, and cultural and technological change may turn something that was not valued in an area into an important resource. Petroleum is an example. There was a time when planters in the South would be very disappointed to find oil on their land. They would drill a well for water, oil would come up, they'd curse their luck because they didn't need oil, they needed water. Today, if someone found oil on their land, they would probably be very happy about it. Cultures view natural resources differently over time. For example, what one culture values as food may disgust those from a different culture. The Romans had a certain delicacy that they enjoyed: mice. They would stuff the mice and eat them. Most people today in America wouldn't want to eat a stuffed mouse, but for the Romans, a delicacy. Is it good? Is it bad? It depends on your culture. Salt is among the most important commodities in history. Salt is the only mineral humans routinely consume as the mineral itself. Roman soldiers were paid in salt. The Roman word for salt, salis, is the root word for both salary and salvation. Salt is necessary for survival and preserves food. Gold. Why is gold valuable? While gold is useful in electronics, it was valued thousands of years ago because it was shiny. The value of gold far exceeds its practical use. The value of gold is rooted in our culture and in simply our psychology of liking shiny things. Petroleum was not always a natural resource. It was once a natural nuisance. Before the age of machines, landowners cursed their luck when they found oil on the land while digging wells for water. Petroleum was useless and contaminated the drinking water. The rise of the internal combustion engine caused oil to shift from nuisance to commodity. Oil did not change, the human perception of its worth did. Exploring the oceans. Energy corporations explore the oceans to find new deposits of petroleum. Offshore oil rigs drill through the ocean floor to extract undersea petroleum. The Gulf of Mexico and the North Sea are two bodies of water known for oil rigs. Exploring the Arctic. Petroleum is found in the Arctic in places that are valued as pristine natural habitats barely touched by the modern world. Environmental concerns fuel political resistance to drilling in the Arctic. This has limited oil companies from accessing some oil reserves. Non-renewable resources. Some resources cannot be renewed in a human lifespan. For example, petroleum was created as plants and animals in the distant past died, and their remains were buried through natural processes. The heat and pressure underground turned the remains into petroleum, or crude oil. It will take millions of years to replenish the petroleum humans have used in this century. So, in human terms, it's a non-renewable resource. Maybe in 100 million years, There'll be some more. But 100 million years is not a time frame that you or I will operate in. Resources that renew within human lifetime are called renewable resources. For example, trees are renewable because a tree will grow to maturity and be useful as wood within a human lifetime. Behind my house out in Dale County, there are miles and miles of pine trees that are planted and harvested from time to time. The harvesters went through and cut down a lot of the trees behind the house last summer. They are replanting new ones, and in 15 or 20 years, they'll be back to cut those new trees down. Solar and wind power are other examples of renewable resources. Sustainability. The Environmental Protection Agency defines sustainability in this way. Sustainability is based on a simple principle. Everything that we need for our survival and well-being depends, either directly or indirectly, on our natural environment. To pursue sustainability is to create and maintain the conditions under which humans and nature can exist in productive harmony to support present and future generations. Hybrid and electric automobiles. Electric vehicles do not directly produce carbon, a greenhouse gas. Hybrid vehicles produce less carbon as they use both gas and electricity for power. Therefore, they both may cause less global warming. However, the batteries required to operate most of these vehicles require the mining of rare earth elements and cause pollution when they wear out. I understand that some companies are finding ways to avoid using rare earth elements, which are, by their very name, scarce, but that's still an issue for many of the electric car makers. Wind power. Wind power does not directly generate carbon. The downsides of wind energy are inconsistency and the potential to kill birds. Wave power. Wave power involves the placement of anchored buoys in the ocean. The motion of waves powers generators. Wave power is still experimental. Solar power. Solar power harvests the energy of the sun and converts it to electricity. Downsides include variability with the weather. When it's cloudy, you don't get a lot of solar power. The need to store the electricity at night, which may involve batteries, which may involve the same rare earth elements that are found in many of the automobiles. And toxic pollution created in building solar panels. So for everything, there's a trade-off, including solar power. Geothermal. Geothermal power uses the heat of the earth to generate power. Geothermal is only practical near hot springs or geysers where the heat of the earth may be easily accessed. Hydroelectric. Hydroelectric dams convert the energy produced by falling water into electricity. Hydroelectric power has the downsides of mercury contamination caused by rotting vegetation in areas flooded by dams and interference with wildlife. For example, with salmon moving up to their spawning grounds. The mercury is released whenever vegetation rots underwater, and in the large quantities of rotting vegetation you would have when a new dam is put up, that would eventually go out to the ocean, this large quantity of mercury, and then the little fish eat it and the bigger fish eat it, and when we eat the bigger fish, we may be getting a higher dose of mercury than we need. Biofuels are substitutes for fossil fuels. Biofuels are created from plants or algae. Plants such as corn are distilled into alcohol and burned as fuel. Ethanol is a biofuel commonly used around the world. Ethanol is usually made from corn, although it can be made from sugar cane, and it's distilled into alcohol. Increasing efficiency in producing biofuels may make them a realistic substitute for all fossil fuels when they run out in the next century or so. So when we finally run out of the last of the petroleum that we can use, We might switch to some other energy source like solar power, or we might grow our fuel in the form of algae or plants. In conclusion, cultural values affect which resources are valued and how they're extracted or gathered and consumed. Some resources are renewable, others are not.